Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got a request to do a video. I did this video on on how to get a remote job, and you can check it out here. And this was quite a popular video, but by far the most requested thing after I did that video was I talked about a little bit why remote jobs aren't good sometimes. And so I got a bunch of requests on tell me why, right? Because I think a lot of you think that, oh, working remotely, that's got to be the bomb. That's awesome, right? But it's not as good as you think. So I thought I would do a video and tell you a little bit about, I've worked remote. I mean, technically, I work in my little office by myself now. But when I worked for a company, I've had remote jobs in the past, and I want to tell you some of the downsides here. So first of all, one of the biggest downsides that most people don't take into account is the isolation, the lack of social connection, right? When you go into the office and you work, a lot of times you don't like your coworkers, but it's at least social interaction, right? Even some kind of interaction. It's better to be, in jail, right? The solitary confinement is like the worst thing. You'd rather be in there with criminals and rapists and drug dealers than to be in solitary confinement, right? And that's the same thing with your work, because I know that most of us work in environments where we have a lot of drug dealers and rapists and serial killers. But anyway. My point is this, is that you will miss that. You won't think so. At first, the first month or two, you'll be like, oh, this is awesome. No one's bothering me. I'm just getting my work done. And then pretty soon you'll go to the coffee shop and you'll go to Starbucks and you get your coffee, and you'll be just like, as soon as the barista says, hi, how's your day? You'll be like spewing out, half an hour of everything you ate for breakfast and, just dying for some kind of human interaction. So that's number one, is I would say. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, okay, what ends up happening when you work remotely is if you are a good worker, and you probably are if you actually got an interview and got a remote job, you're conscientious. And as soon as, when you're in the office, right, it's kind of cool because you go, you clock in, you clock out, you've done your 8 hours, you're done, you did a good job. Whether you sat at your desk and just played around on Facebook or not, you still feel like you did your duty because you showed up and you got there. When you're in the office by yourself working remotely, you don't have that. So you're going to have to try and prove yourself more. And so if you're a conscientious person, then what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up working a lot more hours, because you're going to want to, you're going to be judging. The only way you can judge your what you did is by results, because you didn't go anywhere, and you're going to feel like you're being judged more. So you're going to end up working a lot more. You're going to be stressed out a lot more and work harder. The first time I got my first remote job, I remember like the first 3 or 4 weeks of that job, I was working like 60, 70-hour weeks and just stressing out about not getting enough stuff done, even though I was getting way more stuff done than I ever did in an office, because I felt that I had to do a good job, right? So that's another one. And another one is, even if you have a lot of self-discipline, there's a lot of distractions at home, right? A lot of people, they think, okay, I'm going to take a remote job, and what I'll do is I'll kind of work whatever hours I want. I'll work at night sometimes, and it'll be fun because I'll go for a walk on the beach, and then I'll come back. It doesn't work that way. You think that it's going to work that way, but in reality, it doesn't work that way. Instead, what you're going to find is that if you actually want to get work done and get it consistently done, that you're going to have to make a schedule anyway. It's kind of funny. I mean, I'm the extreme example of that, right? I'm sort of a semi-retired entrepreneur, right? I can do whatever I want to do during the day, but I wake up and I have a specific schedule, and I follow that schedule every day. I pretty much work a 9 to 5 by 100% by choice, because if I don't have that system, if I don't have that routine in place, I won't get shit done. I really won't. And you won't either. You think you will, and you think it'll be all fun and games, but it won't be. You're not going to be coding at 2 a.m. and actually getting your hours in. Stuff is going to come up, distractions are going to come up and distract you. there's all of that kind of thing to worry about. So I mean, I think that's the main things. There's other things that you'll of course discover if you work remotely that are not as ideal as what you think. You know, over time, also the newness of it. You know, we it's called hedonistic adaptation, right? It's this concept that whatever was great, whatever was wonderful, at some point won't be, right? You know, so you will adapt to it. So you realize that at some point, you know, getting up in your pajamas and going to your office, your desk will become the new normal, and when it does, it won't be so great anymore. And so what happens in those situations with hedonistic adaptation is all of the good is now the base level, but all the negatives you still get to feel, because it doesn't work the other way. You don't ever get adapted to not feeling pain. You still feel that pain, or you know, the downside. So anyway, I'm not saying don't get a remote job. I'm just saying prepare yourself, make sure you have the right kind of self-discipline to be able to do this. Make sure you're willing to go and create a routine for yourself. Make sure that you have other social outlets, or that you truly are an outcast from society and you don't care about other people. Maybe if you're a total sociopath, this would work for you, but probably you need to figure out some other things that you can do to get human interaction, and you know, just be prepared for it. All of the remote jobs that I've had high turnover rates, way higher than you would expect, and that's because people just couldn't deal with it. After some amount of time, they're like, you know, usually around 6 months, they're like, screw this, man, I can't do it. And it seems, you know, like I said, it seems to a lot of people to be a dream job, to be able to work from home, work from your pajamas, but it's not as good as you would think. I prefer it because I like to sit down and get my work done, and I don't have distractions, but I'm very disciplined, and I specifically set up routines and processes to be disciplined. And if you're not that kind of person and you can't do that, then it's probably not going to work for you. So anyway, great question, and hopefully that answered that for those of you that are wondering about remote working. If you have more questions about remote working, you know, leave a comment below, and I'm happy to answer it. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Talk to you next time. Take care.